OK. Yes, so slides, camera, and action. Hello, everyone. My name's Annie. And today we're going to be talking about automation with Quip Live Apps and Google Sheets. Before I say anything else, need to go over this fancy slide. The forward-looking statement, basically what it says, base your purchasing decisions on what is readily available. Where you can find what's readily available, that's the investor relations page on Salesforce.com. What we're going to cover in the next 40 minutes, of course, I'll say who I am and why am I getting up here. Also talk about a commonly asked question, why integrate Quip with Google Sheets? Because as many of you know, Quip has its own sheets. Then talk about the Toastmasters program, because we automated for the Toastmasters organization. Of course, talk about the meeting tracking system. That's what we automated. Demo it, right? That's really important. Talk about working with OAuth. Authentication can be very fun. Let's just put it that way. There are, of course, considerations when working with live apps, because no technology does everything. And on a positive note with what Quip does really, really, really well, and also references. So who am I? I am the newest addition to the Salesforce Developers Evangelist team. So if you want to think about it, I'm like the baby penguin over there. Okay, I'm very new on the job. This is my first Dreamforce where I'm speaking. But this is my third Dreamforce. So yay! My teammates, actually my manager Josh is sitting right there. So my teammates are all wonderful. They are partaking in the admin and developer keynotes. I have this breakout session, and I'm speaking to you guys, which I'm actually really happy to be speaking to you guys, because this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. Cool. Before we go any further, I want to say there is quite a bit of JavaScript in this session. Can I get a show of hands of who would say they're confident JavaScript developers? Hands? OK, there's a few people in the crowd. Cool. Are you all currently using Quip? Raise your hands if you're already using Quip. OK, that's also a good show of hands. So the goal of the session is to show some code to see how we implement an end-to-end automation system using Quip as the centerpiece. So there will be code, but don't worry, I will explain what the code does. And the code is also open source. So you have that to refer back on. Awesome. I get this question a lot. Why integrate Quip Sheets with Quip documents with Google Sheets, right? Most importantly, I get it. It's funny because I get it from Google employees and I get it from Quip employees. Those two groups don't seem to speak to each other that often. But the answer, very simple answer to this question is, we really wanted the best user experience for our users. We, as in the developers that worked on this end-to-end automation project, and the users, as in all of the people within Salesforce Toastmasters. Basically, the people within Salesforce that go to Toastmasters. So I want to back up and just explain how we designed this system, or actually why the system exists in the first place. Story time. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away called Vancouver, Canada, I'm sure many of you have heard of it, I joined Toastmasters. OK. Who would say they're comfortable speaking on stage? Hands up? OK, quite a few of you. OK, that's better than I hoped for. So I joined Toastmasters. If you're aware of Toastmasters, it's basically a gym where instead of working out your muscles, you work out your public speaking and communication, also leadership skills. So if during this presentation you feel there's anything missing in my presentation, or I'm not doing as well as you'd like, remember, 4.5 years ago, I was much, much worse. So just be grateful that I'm practicing and incorporating all of my Toastmasters training. Now, what I noticed with the corporate clubs, and Salesforce Toastmasters is a corporate club, which means someone in the company pays for all of our memberships, is that it has such great return on investment. No other program that I know, to my knowledge, allows you to continuously improve your communication skills week after week after week for that low of a price. I mean, it's literally under $100 per member. It's cheaper than going to the gym, like seriously. But I noticed one thing after weeks of going to Salesforce Toastmasters over and over and over again. And this thing really bothered me. Basically, we had this meeting management system. It's free, it's hosted, it's off the shelf. It's the free Toast host. We branded it a little bit. But basically, there was a lot of manual labor around signing people up, around at least like authenticating to get into the system. I mean, we're all Salesforce. Anyone should be able to sign up into the system. The experts of the system shouldn't take like 5 minutes of their day just to sign up a new member. So there was a lot of friction with the system, and we're like, OK, dude, like we're Salesforce. We have all the tools that we possibly need. So we just moved this meeting management system into Quip. And this is so awesome. Like anyone can sign up. They can sign up even other people. Basically, whenever we sign up someone else, we @mention them, and they get an email notification, which will say, check this document, and they can open the document and see which role they signed up for. This is awesome. Like, I'm surprised you guys are not getting off your seats and dancing. No, this is so good. Because not only do you sign up other people, you can also confirm with them in the document. You just mention them in that chat, which is on the right-hand side, and they get an email notification to say, oh, you need to take a look at this doc, and they'll be like, yes, confirmed for speaker for next week. Yeah, this is so much better than what we had before. Except there were some minor flaws, and over time it really hurt us. There was quite a bit of manual process still. For example, in the sign-up sheet, the project itself is a free text field. Basically, you can put anything there. That is not the Toastmasters way. The Toastmasters way is you pick from a list of standard projects. That's important because that will count towards your educational progress, and you get different certificates based on that. So that needs to be fixed. And every meeting, we need to copy the set of names onto an agenda to be printed out. Because at Toastmasters, we run the meetings very efficiently, and that means everyone needs to have a copy of the agenda with the proper names on it. So this is a pain. But last but not least, we need to track how well our members are doing, which roles they're taking, what kind of speeches they're doing. So we need to copy the names onto the sheets for tracking. Why sheets? Because we were already using sheets for sign-in. Like when people sign in, they put their names. We already put that into sheets. So sheets is basically our repository for querying what a member has done. So all of this is manual. All of this happens every week. And every week, we get someone like this. Oops. Yeah. An unfortunate volunteer. And we keep hearing them complaining, and they complain very loudly and consistently about how we're a billion-dollar technology company. We have the people. We have thousands of engineers. We have the tools. You're a Dreamforce. You've seen some of our tools. They're awesome. So why don't we just automate this, right? Let's get the people and the tools together. Let's automate it. So at a team offsite with Salesforce Toastmasters officers, we got together. And these are our lovely officers. And actually, Casey, the president, is in the room. So yay. So you may notice that the three of us on the left, we were all thinking about automation, particularly since our user information is partly in Quip and partly in Sheets, we need those two systems to communicate with each other. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that through live apps. So the three of us got together, and just for recognition, they are. So they're Srinath. So Srinath is the one that volunteered to undertake this entire end-to-end automation project. He bravely said he was going to prototype it over the weekend, and it took longer than a weekend for the final product. Max is our VP of Public Relations. He built out the static site for the agenda with a one-button click. He noticed that it was not a one-person weekend project, so he volunteered all three of us to form a team. And I come from a JavaScript background, have 3 years experience in React, and I was like, Quip Live Apps uses React, yes. So Live Apps, you don't have to use React, but the documentation uses React, so it helps. So the three of us got together, and after 3 months of collaborating, of iterating, because we're agile through different solutions, we finally achieved this in-production system that automates things beautifully. And we're going to show a demo. But before we do that, this is the Holy Grail. This is the Holy Grail that we've defined as the automated member tracking. Because for Toastmasters, it's so important that the roles and the speeches are tracked. Otherwise, our members may not be able to verify the educational words. We don't want our members' time and effort to go to waste. So we want to honor that. Our criteria for great user experience is, first of all, it has to be easy to use. Like, you should not be copy-pasting. You should not need to be technical. Right? This is something that anybody can use. Easy to maintain. This is easier said than done. So we went through several iterations of maybe Google Apps, for example, to pull data from Quip using the Quip automation API. But we thought, hey, easiest solution is just to make a Quip live app, because that would be just hosted on Quip. And then we make an agenda, which is a static site, which is hosted on GitHub. So we don't need to maintain any other systems. So easy to maintain is very important, since we're a corporate club and there is people turnover. And last but not least, we need to use existing stack, because we don't want to be very different experience for our users. We want our users to feel like it's the same experience, but better, because they don't have to do all that manual work. So that's why we chose to stick with Quip, Docs, and Google Sheets, and that's why they are talking to each other. Cool. So before I go over the demo, which I know you're itching to see, this is what's going to happen. In the sign up, the user is going to be able to pick from a standard set. But there's also going to be a button, which does two things. It opens in a new tab and sends some JSON that way so the agenda can print. And then the archive roles will be using a post request. This is a very innocent-looking slide, because this end-to-end system took us 3 months of part-time work with 3 software engineers. And you may be thinking, wow, that might mean your engineers are really bad, right? This is pretty simple. No, it's actually pretty. There were some potholes that we had to jump through, because the first one, just printing parts of a Quip document is non-trivial. Right? We need to send just that section of data in a structured way to another system. And the second one is you need to post to Sheets. If you have posted to Sheets using the Sheets API, you may have noticed that you need to authenticate. Right? To authenticate, we chose to go with OAuth 2, which I'll also cover in this presentation. So those potholes, they are surmountable after some effort, which we put in. OK, enough talking. Let's show you the demo. Can you see it now? OK, awesome. So Toastmasters app, custom app. Only a few people can instantiate it. So instantiate it, and there are some placeholders that help with filling out the form. So we put in a date. Our meetings are on Tuesdays. So let's say October the 2nd. That's when the next meeting is. We'll put my name in for Toastmaster, which is a very special role. Oh, the internet must have some problems. OK. All right, I'm going to refresh the page. OK. Great, so that's working. I will just sign myself in. And then for the title, I will say I'm going to talk about sushi, because that's a very important topic. I will give it as a organize your speech. Next person, let's pick my partner in crime, Srinath, and he will talk about pizza, because developers love to eat pizza, right? To get to the point, and then I will say it's myself. OK, so you can see what I've done. It's the same as a normal Quip application, like the native Quip application, with the difference of this pick list, which is very special. You can filter, for example, let's do researching and presenting, and it automatically updates with the name, with the time, which is 7 minutes in this case. OK, so we're going to save and print. Remember what that does? So we'll print with this print agenda, and you'll see that all that JSON is in the URL. So that's how we sent the data over here. And it's literally 3 buttons to print. This is so much better than copy and pasting. And we also posted to the Quip backing sheet. So this was just posted here. See, I have all the roles, and I'm talking about sushi. And Srinath is talking about pizza. OK, so that's the end-to-end demo for 1 week. Let's imagine that we come back next week, and we're going to make another Toastmasters app for that date. So the next week is going to be the 9th. And let's say our president, KC, is going to be the Toastmaster, and the grammarian is going to be Srinath. And I'll take the remaining roles. Let's see I'm going to talk about teddy bears, because they're cute, and we have Cody. Let's say visionary leader, Cody is a visionary leader. That sounds great. I'll also add my partner in crime as the second speaker. He is going to talk about Astro, or other mascot, and how to say it. For example, OK, save and print. Literally 3 buttons to print this thing. This is so awesome. Basically, this saves so much time. And you can see in the backing sheet that we just added another row without me doing anything other than clicking a button, with the Toastmasters as KC and the grammarians Srinath. And with me talking about teddy bears, and with Max talking about Astro. Yes, that's our end-to-end system. And that works. So live demo. So that's our end-to-end demo, and we're very proud that it is in production, and we're using it. So can we get a hands, like clapping hands for mission accomplished? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. After 3 months of hard work, we have finally accomplished this using our own Salesforce technologies, and we're very proud. OK, let's talk about something that really irked me during those months. So the time to actually create the Quip Live app is very short, because I already knew React, and it was very simple. Authentication, on the other hand, is something that was new to me, and I needed to learn how it works. So what really irked me is that sometimes the authentication will work, and whenever I need to actually demo the application, then I get a 401. It's like, why? It was working, and there's no code changes. Like, why is it not working anymore? So I really need to take a step back to understand how OAuth works and how it works on Quip. Does everyone know what OAuth is? Anyone who is unfamiliar? OK, maybe, yeah. So OAuth is a way to authenticate. Quip uses OAuth 2. And it's really easy to authenticate with Quip. So whenever you use sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook, you see something like this. You're using OAuth in the background. Right? It's super simple for the users. For the developers, that's a whole other story. Cool. So testing whether Quip can authenticate with Google is super simple. We have the Quip developer console, which does exactly that. Basically, you put in the URLs, which you can get from that GitHub, a README, and you press the test login. And then you have to go through selecting your account, and then if it's successful, then you can rest assured that Quip is able to authenticate with that service through OAuth 2. So this is really good because it helps you debug, right? If this works, then it means the error has to be somewhere else. But for us, our use case, we don't want the user to see that, right? Like, Quip already knows who the user is. Because in Salesforce, when the user lands on that Quip document, they already signed in. So they shouldn't need to do that. And as a developer, I don't want to see that every time I'm debugging the application. So after debugging the application like 100 times and clicking this button 100 times, I was like, this is enough. There should be an easier way. And there is. If you only need to authenticate when you're making a request, you can just do this. So basically, this is in the source code. It's really simple. Basically, what it says is send a request to the Quip API proxy using the URL and the params you have defined with a custom header that has a JOT token, right? The JOT token, which is the access token. This is so simple, and the user doesn't have to click any funny things. And this is great also because we didn't need to specify any secrets, any API keys. We can publish this online and you'll be fine. There's no secrets shared here. Like I'm sharing this right now and it's all okay. So this is awesome. However, I was still getting 401 from time to time, right? Like, why does this happen? Because whenever this happens, we can't use our system. It's just not end-to-end anymore. So debugging this, how? Basically, the cause for this is because your JOT token expired. Aha, JOT tokens expired. Who did not know that, right? So the default for Quip expires is 3600. That is in seconds, which means in 1 hour. So if your application needs to refresh tokens, you do need to bake that into your application, because otherwise you're going to run into 401 errors like I did. Basically, everything works until you want to demo it, and it doesn't work because 401k is just very, very annoying. So please refresh the token. How do you refresh the token? Well, you can refresh it manually. Super not scalable, always works. Do the test login button, and what that does is request the service for a new token. Simple, but not scalable. Is there a way to do it programmatically? Yes, there is. So this is taken directly from the Quip's GitHub repo, which has tons of good source code that I recommend. I started with the simpler apps and worked my way to understanding more complex apps. Basically, what this does is authenticate. If the error code is 401, authenticate again. That's pretty simple. So that's how you refresh your tokens programmatically. So if you did that, and the token is not expired, and the authentication fails, then it has to be something in your code. So the way I debugged is I looked at the Quip app, opened the browser console in the Networks tab, looked at the request body of what it sent to the proxy server, and compared that versus with the request body of the Sheets API Explorer, which is provided by Google. And the Sheets API Explorer always works. So comparing those two and see what is, and it's not there, that's how I debugged. Cool, OK. So that's a lot about OAuth. Enough about OAuth. Let's talk about something to consider when working with live apps, because hey, there's something that we learned down the line that we really wish we knew at the beginning. Some pretty big challenges, but we overcame them. First of all, this is so important. It needs its own slide because history, the lovely history, which we talked about at the beginning, is available in native Quip, but not in live apps. This is really big because Quip live apps, they're sandboxed, meaning the live apps can only see what's in each other, can see what it's in itself and not of each other. So this is something that when you develop your app, if you still want what is available in native Quip, that's something that you need to program it in yourself. You need to bake it in yourself. And how you do that is using the Quip Live Apps API. There is the send message, which takes a param, and you can put a string in there. And you can do that while listening to a record. So a record is a unit of storage, which I'll talk about shortly. So there's record listeners, and which listens on record change. On record change, send a message. And then you will have the which fields got changed, that kind of thing. So that is how you get around the missing history. Other speed bumps, there is no key value configuration UI, which coming from Heroku, it's like something that I took for granted. So for example, the sheets ID, we actually checked that into the code because there was no easy way to store that otherwise. There is a way to get around it is, of course, to build your own config UI. But of course, then we'll need to use the API to check who the users are. So if the user is A, B, and C, then show this config thing, which is really clunky, to be serious. So yeah, this is something that we really like to see in the Quip developer console. I want to end in a positive note because Quip Live Apps API has a lot going for it. It has a suite of really cool features that if you were to implement for like as a separate web app, you'll spend tons of time reinventing the wheel. So I'll end with a positive note and just say, here are the cool bits. So processing data in Quip apps is so easy because every Quip app has something called a root record. How you use that is, for example, for our app, you notice that every field there in the root record maps to a record, like in the UI. So date maps to date, and Toastmaster maps to Toastmaster. That's all you need to do. This is so easy. If you're just editing one single field, and that field is a string, this is all you need to do to have that field be persisted in Quip Live App. It's just like magic. You also notice that we use a lot of rich text records. Rich text records, it's great because they're out of the box, they're styled out of the box, and they already interact with the root record. By the way, if you haven't figured it out already, rich text record means rich as in versatility and functionality, and not as in like they have lots of money, but you know, that kind of thing. Cool. So if you're reading the slide, you may notice that the last one in get properties, it's speaker slot, and it's a record list.type speech select. So that is the only one that is not a rich text record. The reason we had to make a custom record is, if you notice that the pick list, it's not just a string. We also need to track if it's speaker 1 or speaker 2, because they may be talking about different things. They probably are talking about different things. So our data store then had to be slightly different. It had to have a number as well as a string. And the way you specify that is you just extend the rich text record. Very simple. And how we instantiate it when the app starts is we have the speaker 1 and speaker 2, and just define that in the root record. This is so cool because it just shows you how easy it is to work with the root record. You just get it, and you add something to it. You can also use the set, which we'll do later in the code. But you already have the code because it's open source, which I'll share in the references slide. Cool. OK, so that's the cool bits of Quip, which is really cool. I also wanted to talk about how to release to users, because I thought this part was going to be difficult, and actually is not. It's very simple. By default, your apps are already public to users. If the user can see the document on which your app is running, they can see and use your app. There is a limit on who can instantiate new instances of the apps. So for example, in the Quip Developer Console, you define the developers with their emails. So if someone is not defined here, and they go to a Salesforce Quip document, and they try to do add Toastmasters app, it wouldn't show up for them. That's just one of the limits of Quip. OK. Now I talked a lot, so I want to end with the references. If you want more information, Quip API reference is awesome. The Live Apps API is pretty thorough, especially on the OAuth part, which is the part that I spent a lot of time reading. Then the Quip Apps GitHub repo has tons of great apps, especially the Google Drive one was very enlightening. The Google Sheets API, very useful for us, at least for debugging purposes. But that's also pretty well written as well. OK, by the way, we really like open source. So we shared our Toastmasters app. It is public. You can clone it. You can make comments. You can make issues. Give us feedback. We are always looking for great developers to learn from. Cool. Having said that, over this last 30 minutes, we covered how you send data from Quip, right? You can send it through the URL, or you can post it. We covered OAuth and how that works with Quip. So basically, you are all set. You can go on App Exchange to get more inspiration. You can go back to your organization and give them 12 Quip live app ideas and be able to implement every single one of them, I hope. So yeah, really, now you're ready to go forth and create. Oh, and in case you missed the keynote, this Quip Live Apps is also available in Quip Slides. So that's just one more way that the audience can enjoy your hard work. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.